And I will now turn it over to the ranking member for questions.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Mr. Ned, as you know, President Biden has set a goal to reduce greenhouse emissions by at least 50% and achieve zero carbon electric power in our system by 2035. And as the manager of 1 in 10 acres of land in the United States, the Bureau of Land Management has and will continue to have a significant role to play in reaching these goals. Oil and gas production right now is at an all-time high under the Biden administration, even higher than the Trump administration. And I was wondering if you could tell us more about what BLM is doing to ramp down emissions from public lands.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We continue to take a very thorough look and analysis for emissions. We're not only doing it by project, but we're looking at the cumulative impact. We're also looking at what's going on in downstream. So every project is going through a very thorough analysis. In 2021, the department undertook an assessment based on previous issued lease and is now applying some of that assessment as we move forward.
And I want to ask about some of the downstream effects of developing something like the Willow project, which many Americans were disappointed to see moving forward given the overwhelming grassroots opposition and devastating climate impacts that Willow entails. Considering President Biden's climate goals, how is BLM planning to factor in downstream emissions of potential development into decision-making, specifically for its upcoming 2024 and 2023 lease sales and long-term planning? How is this different from how BLM has historically factored in downstream emissions?
Yes, clearly there have been a number of court cases that has helped to shape to our thinking. And so again, looking very thoroughly, looking on a project-by-project basis, ensuring we understand the impact, and then carefully working to put measures in place to minimize those impacts.
And when would the oil and gas leases have come online in the Arctic Refuge had the Biden administration not recently canceled them?
I'm sorry, Congressman, what was the question?
The oil and gas leases in the Arctic Refuge that the Biden administration just recently canceled, if the Biden administration had not canceled them, when would they have otherwise come online?
Oh, Congresswoman, they would have taken many, many years. The Arctic is a very complex place to develop, and it would have taken many, many years.
Yeah, and I think it's an important point to raise because we've heard arguments from folks on the other side of the aisle and in the oil and gas industry that the Biden-Harris administration's decisions in the Arctic Refuge and the Western Arctic will increase prices at the pump for many Americans. But just as you said, these leases wouldn't have even come online for many, many years from now, correct?
That is correct.
And even if all goes according to company plan, and those companies are interested in even developing in the area, which was questionable already in the Arctic Refuge, it would take a better part of a decade to produce oil and gas on approved projects in the North Slope. And according to project documents, the Willow oil project in the Western Arctic, which has already been approved, will not produce payable quantities of oil for at least another 6 years. Moreover, the supplemental environmental impact study for the Arctic Refuge oil leasing program indicates that the earliest that the oil production could come online is 2032. And that's largely due to the remoteness of the coastal plain and the associated lack of prior exploration and infrastructure. So, Mr. Ned, what then would you tell some of my colleagues here and their industry allies who say that the administration's recent decisions are somehow going to affect gas prices now?
Yeah, I would say gas prices is primarily affected by industry and a number of factors. Those factors depend again on where energy will be developed, when it will come online. Those factors are beyond the Bureau of Land Management control. And so, and by the way, the federal lands produce a small amount, 14% in oil and about 8% in gas, that contribute to the nation's energy need.
And what do you make of this argument that we can simply drill our way to lower gas prices, that we can just drill and extract on federal and public lands, and somehow that's going to lower our fossil fuel prices?
Yeah, the administration has been clear that as we transition to a clean energy economy, we have to look at multiple resources, both renewable and non-renewable, and we cannot continue to depend on one source of energy. And so I think the administration has been clear about looking for those options or multiple sources.
All right, thank you very much.